Hello and welcome to the XboxEra podcast. This is episode 78. I'm Sikamikanico and I'm joined, as usual, by Shpeshal Nick. And a very special guest today, the creator, director, guitar wizard from the Artful Escape, Johnny Galvatron. Thank you for joining us, dude. Wow, like straight in. I can see how this podcast is going to go. Just, let me just pull that out of my back and we'll carry on. Yes, it is a fresh 3 a.m. at the time of recording for this podcast. And as I was just explaining, I've only really got myself to blame. So if I sound a little bit hoarse, then that's why. Let's blame it on that.
We're being told that there's no.
You were. So we missed Johnny's evil jab at my expense.
the audio version we won't miss Johnny's
evil jab
intro,
at my expense.
Just on the YouTube version.
I think everyone can cut me some slack. It is 3 a.m.
Yeah. It's just bonus features for the next time that you listen.
For sure. It's all good. Yeah, bonus feature.
Thanks heaps for coming on, by the way, Johnny. I've been trying for ages to get you on. I've been stalking him in the Discord DMs. Come on, let's get on.
Sliding all up in my DMs. Finally here. It's great to be here.
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure to have you. I know you've had a rather kind of fun year launching finally the Artful Escape, which came out on Game Pass and on Steam on PC.
Yep,
I believe so.
I believe that is correct. All of the Windows stores and things like that. So I guess just for the sake of anyone watching that hasn't played it, and I imagine that is a very small number considering our audience is Xbox slanted. How did this is a very broad question. We'll start off broad. Johnny Galvatron, I'm going to make a video game about awesome guitars and going on that kind of journey. Where did you start? Where did that kind of journey into game development begin for you?
Well, I was in a rock band called the Galvatrons, and we got a record deal when I was, I think, 19. And I'd studied 3D computer animation at uni, but I immediately forgot that when I got a record deal. And
I was with Warner, wasn't it?
With Warner Brothers, and then I partied on for like 5 years and toured nonstop. Hated it. And the band I was in was around for a good time, not a long time. We weren't committing any great leaps to the musical firmament. We were just there to party. So got over partying and came home. Didn't leave the house for 5 years. Wrote a novel, showed it to no one.
Oh wow!
And then I was like, I'm going to make a little iPad app, like Sword and Sorcery. Because I really loved that game, and as usual with the stuff that I work on, it spiraled out of control, and then and then I ended up making this quite vast kind of demo, or I guess it was a collection of like dioramas, and I sent them to Epic, and I was like, I hear you guys are giving out grants. Is this the kind of thing you're looking for? And there was like no in between email. They just sent me like this thing saying they were going to give me $20,000.
God damn!
And I was like, I know, I couldn't believe it. Love Tim Sweeney, and that gave me enough to kind of make a demo and start a Kickstarter. But the Kickstarter we didn't build an audience or anything, so we just kind of jumped in, dig this weird alien sci-fi guitar stuff that we've made, and that got me talking to some publishers. Annapurna was one of them, and I didn't admit it at the time, but I was like, oh man, I hope I really get picked up by Annapurna. They're so cool. They're the coolest kids at the back of the bus.
They're the Brunswick Street publisher.
Oh, they're so north side. And Nathan Gary from Annapurna rang me and said, are you going to be at PAX? And I was like, yeah, got a table, no props, got a demo ready to go. But that was all a lie. And called in some favors, got one of the last tables. We had 3 months to make a demo. I think we're up 2 days before the first show day. And they rocked up 10 a.m. crisp first day. played the demo. Took me out for lunch the next day, and then victory.
Victory was assured.
That's how I got into the video game industry.
Wow, man. This is an inspiration to any developer that's ever stayed up and worked all night on the game until the birds came up. It can work. Winging it completely.
The thing you leave out of a story that makes yourself sound cool is that I was super broke the entire time, and like my dad was paying my rent and my wife was like paying the bills. And that's the actual thing that like makes you successful, is the people who support you through everything.
Yeah.
But I like to tell the cool version first, and then add that in later.
Well, it's a pretty cool version. So there's actually a bit I want to unpack, right? Because I've done the whole band thing when I was younger, and I never got a record label or anything like that. But I loved playing live, and the Artful Escape, when I saw it for the first time, I was just like, okay, I'm in. But what really surprised me, and we'll talk about it in a bit, is the actual journey that you go on through the game, because it's quite, I don't want to blow your own trumpet here, but it's quite profound in kind of like the actual messaging it gives you as you play through, rather than, it kind of being about music per se. But just before we do that, we've got a super chat from one of our very kind friends who hopefully he's put a little bit of there's a bit of a friends thing going on with this podcast, Johnny, right? Unless you've ever watched it, you may not understand, you may not.
I'm sure Johnny likes Friends. You like Friends, right, Johnny?
Oh yeah,
You'll fit in well.
Yeah. Totally. I love Chandler.
Well, yes. Good choice. Well, Faisal, super chat, he says, welcome to the friendliest Xbox podcast out there, Johnny. Wanted to say I absolutely loved experiencing the Artful Escape. Have a wonderful show, lads. And thank you, Faisal. That's
thanks.
I need to interrupt for a sec. So there's been something I've been wanting to ask Johnny from like ever since I got to the Annapurna preview, and we had a chance to ask Johnny questions. I didn't ask it then. I haven't been asking him in the DMs on Discord. I've been waiting for this moment.
This is it.
I've got a funny feeling I already know the answer because of where you grew up, John.
Yeah.
But I need to ask, who do you go for in the AFL?
The Cats.
I knew it. Damn it.
I knew it. Cats.
I knew it.
Old team of war-trodden heroes.
I knew it would be Geelong.
Geelong. We love losing a prelim.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've lost. Oh, actually, no. Collingwood and Geelong have a storied history of prelims.
Are you Collingwood?
Yes, I am Collingwood. Yeah.
2011, man. 2011.
2011, 2010, 2009, 2007.
Great times. Hey, look, my team didn't win a premiership until I was like 26.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. You were like Collingwood for a while there, where you were losing premierships left and right. Like I remember watching
4 in 6 years we lost.
Yeah, I remember watching '89. I was in Torquay when I was watching '89 against Hawthorn.
With all those hippies down there in Torquay.
Yeah, and then I remember watching, and then I went to the 07 prelim, which is still one of the best.
Oh yeah. Daisy Thomas could have won it. He missed.
We lost that game, but it's still one of the best games of football I've ever seen and ever been to.
Pivoted hard into AFL, didn't it?
I've been dying to ask you who you go for. Like I had to get Geelong because you grew up there.
You would be forced to endure ridicule and torment if you went to school in Geelong and didn't go for Geelong.
Wow.
Yeah, I know a few people that don't go for Geelong that are from there. Not many.
I bet you they don't admit it down at the Barwon Club.
No.
There's a lot of American confusion, I think, right now. What's an AFL? Yeah. Who's a Geelong?
We're talking about AFL, one of the probably the second greatest game in the world behind cricket. And then I love cricket, man.
Is it because you can mostly just sit and drink and you don't have to move around much? And
you've just perfectly described why cricket is so brilliant. Could David Boone or Ian Botham play internationally in any other sport? No. Cricket, what a game.
Very true.
You can be 7 foot tall. You can be like, a tiny little batsman like Tendulkar.
Look at Wardy.
Look at Wardy. Exactly. A hero, an Australian hero. Sorry, we're still confusing the American chat.
Yeah.
Well, there's another super chat here from Sir Monte Carlo. I believe this is one of your compatriots.
Nick. Great show as always. True or not, chat. Yeah, 100% Carlos. 100%. Carlos is from Sydney. Yeah.
So
good. It's good time for the Aussies. It's good. The Aussies can watch. They can get on board. It's good. I like
it's a friendly time of day for you guys. It's not first thing in the morning. It's just fair. Once a year.
Melbourne is still in, as Johnny would know, Melbourne is still in lockdown. So it's frustrating. Like, I'm only 20 minutes away from him. Like, I could drive down now and, like, meet up for a coffee with him, but we're in lockdown.
We'd be shot. So there's nothing we can do.
On site.
What are you
man? So yeah, it's been a hell of a I suppose doing all through pandemic and etc. etc. I mean, did that make much of a difference for you guys when you're developing the game? Because just to be clear, it's not just you, right? You've got some colleagues and friends as well as the folks at Annapurna, but the actual development studio wins my personal award for best named development studio ever, which is Beethoven and Dinosaur, right?
Yeah,
where did that come from? Where pick random words out of a hat?
I'd love to just give you some. I should make up a completely fictitious story. It wouldn't be the first time, but I hate to let you down. I just really like Beethoven and I really like dinosaurs.
That's a solid answer. I can allow it.
That's okay.
And the pandemic, as far as the pandemic went, it did slow us down a bit, but the way a lot of video game studios are set up is that you can remotely. So slowed us down a bit. We had to get some gear, and it's obviously a mental strain being locked down for whatever it is, 270 days of the last year or something.
Not that you've been counting.
Yeah, I know. I just want a Palmer. I just want a Palmer and a pint.
Uber Eats.
So yeah, I know. It's not the same. But it slowed us down. I mean, I wouldn't say it was horrific. I was like, we're just really lucky to still, get a paycheck and work from home. Lucky to be in that position.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where were you doing most of the development pre-pandemic?
On Elizabeth Street in an office.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. God, so we were even working near each other. Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm in the CBD too.
No way. Yeah. So we're just working out of there. There's about 8 of us.
And we also have a as you put it, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon separation too, don't we?
Yeah.
Yes, we do. Which we discovered sort of
10 of you.
Not by accident, but yeah, there was a bit of confusion. My sister-in-law about a year or two ago was like, "Oh, I know the developer of the Artful Escape. Should I put you in touch?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've been wanting to get in touch with Johnny for ages." And she's like, "Johnny?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's who made the Artful Escape." She's like, "Oh, that's not the name of this person that I know." I'm like, "So who do you know?" She's like, "Oh, his name is Justin." I'm like, then maybe he must be part of the team.
Justin's been there since the start. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Justin's been there since the very beginning when we were all working on one desk in my apartment, trying to make a demo. 3 of us on one desk.
Wow. Was this the last minute winging it demo that you were trying to make?
Yes, the winging it demo, exactly.
Wow.
As it shall now be named. But yeah, we took that demo around the world and did it at E3 and all this took us on crazy adventures, that 3-month demo. Wow. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That must have been a ride.
There was such a big visual change almost. Like I remember the very, very, very first trailer. And yes, it still had that marionette puppet look to it, but the actual model of Francis and all that changed a lot between that.
It was quite flat originally. It was very South Park-y stuck out.
Yeah, and that's like I think a symptom of a lot of stuff I work on. Like, it's like I'm just going to make an iPad app, and then suddenly it's like a 5-hour adventure game, or I'm just going to do this flat marionette style, and then you pop out one model and it catches the light, and you're like, well, we got to do that to everything, and then you know, and then you get a dosh injection from Annapurna, and you're like, well, I'm going to hire like real artists, and then we have Arden Beckwith and Mikey McCusker, Harry Truman, and not the president, he's just a young man from Brisbane, and Tess Monash did all the art on the game, and me a bit, and and it was just like, you realize. You look at that stuff at the time, and you're like, yeah, I'm doing pretty well. This looks good. And then you hire professionals, and you're like, oh.
I was lying to myself.
Yeah. So, I think we did enough to get the vision across, and then we tried to make it elite.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, I loved how it looked when I first saw it. But then when the bump up came, I was like, oh, wow, this is just...
Yes. I know. I was like just as amazed. Like, every day, because everyone works on the stuff at the same time, people are building, and you can come back 2 weeks later into an area, and there's a whole bunch of fluff nuggets running around, and there's a vast kind of lagoon. Like, wow, this is amazing. And, we would do these playthroughs every couple of weeks, and it was always just a joy. Yeah. At the start, they're not a joy. They're like, Jesus, we've got a lot of work to do. And then towards the end, you're like, yeah,
it's finally coming together.
It's great.
Yeah, it's funny. There was a bit of a fight. Not a fight. There was a heavy, hearty discussion when the opportunity to preview and then review the game came out, because I think there's probably a good. I mean, we're a small team at XboxEra. There was probably a good 5 or 6 people that absolutely love indie gaming, absolutely love their music, and then absolutely had bookmarked the Artful Escape, so it came up, and there was a bit of a tussle. Nick pulled rank. I was like, "No, it's mine. Get out of here. I'm from Australia."
You get to
elbowed everyone out of the way.
Yeah, I did. It's good.
But it was interesting because, and Nick, I'm gonna share, because this was a private conversation, but I don't think I'm going to share anything too difficult here or
I think what you're going to say, I already said to Johnny myself anyway.
There you go. But Nick was quite open in that, I really love the game and I love listening to it, but do I need to know about music to be able to talk about the game? And from an initial outward sort of perspective, and you think, oh yeah, okay, it's all about music and guitars and da 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 da. But you actually find out through the course of the game, it's not really about that at all. It's actually about the journey of someone who's not quite sure of their place in the universe, and they're told to be, you're going to be one thing, you're going to be this is how it's going to come out for you, and then actually doesn't want to be that. He wants to find out who he really is, and you kind of go through this little journey, which was really nice. And I think Nick perfectly encapsulated that when he actually sat down and went to review it.
Yeah, I really like Nick's video. It's dope. I've watched it a couple of times.
The music helps. The music helps,
Yeah. Look, I said to Johnny myself, I DM'd him saying, I don't know if I'm going to, if I should review the game. I'm not a musician. I don't know if I can really articulate the nuances of how good the music is and what goes into that sort of thing. I'm not sure if I should do it.
It's like a question about like reviewing in the modern age. Like, I think traditionally like reviewers were meant to be unbiased and look at things in a kind of in a distant kind of way and sum everything up with your knowledge of the medium. But I guess it's interesting now, isn't it, that the shift in reviews is more like you have an audience and people know what you like. And people will be drawn to you if you like the same game. And then that's kind of why, like, I don't mind, sometimes you get 10s, sometimes you get 4, well, one time. We got way more 10s than 4s. I just want to put that.
Did you really get a 4?
Someone gave us a 4. But, like,
wow.
Out of 5. No, it was out of 10. But that stuff doesn't really bother me too much, just because, like, it obviously was not for that reviewer's target audience, you know what I mean? It's interesting, isn't it? It's like, do you need to know music to review a music game? Can you just fit how it makes you feel? Is that the answer, as opposed to trying to deconstruct? I think if you need to deconstruct, we maybe haven't done a good enough job.
Yeah, for sure. I think
it's a delicate balancing act, though.
Yeah,
because if you're a complete music numpty, or you don't care for music, but then you're reviewing a game like Artful Escape, maybe you're going to give it the 4 because you think, oh, God, like, I don't care about all this music. And, like, I know in my review I said, you've got to come into this ready. Like, don't come in expecting Super Mario Brothers pixel perfect platforming that's going to test your reflexes. That's not the goal. That's the point. Like, I just felt like I should tell people, hey, just when you're going in, make sure you're going in with that right mindset and do yourself the favor.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting argument about like gameplay and what is a game and what isn't, and are you allowed to be somewhere in between? Some people are really preachy on what should be a game and what should be a game, but I think there's a lot of grey area, and there's still a lot of area to explore in between the mediums. And also, I think gameplay should reflect narrative, at least in the stuff that I like, in the games that I want to make. And Francis doesn't need to die to find his stage persona and find his creative self. He doesn't need to kill. The idea that Francis can fail and just keep going, I think, is just tied into the game. And when I play live and I play a wrong note, I just kept going. Happened a lot.
Yeah. It's like when you hit a bum note, you don't stop the gig and turn, sorry everyone, we'll start from the beginning. I messed up this riff. Everyone just hold on.
Kanye might, but no one else.
Well, if you're a real perfectionist, that's taking it to an extreme.
Yeah. So I did want that kind of gameplay to reflect what the narrative was and what the themes were.
Yeah, and I think you're talking about the different kind of reception, and I think overall the majority of reception was very positive and understood. Guess what? Just in case you had any other expectations, it's not about complicated, button rhythm mapping and stuff like that. There is a little bit of rhythm gameplay in there, but it's actually more about, hey, I'm going to lead you on a little story from A to B, and you're going to experience this journey of transformation that the main character is going through, and we're going to wrap it up, and you're going to have a good time. And I think the reviews that did slant, that infamous 4 out of 10, whoever wrote it, they probably went in expecting more from a pure gameplay perspective than perhaps that they ended up getting. And I can get that as a gamer, totally can respect that. But I've always been amused when people review a game for what they want it to be rather than what it is. And that's always struck me as a little odd, like very, very strange. I want to make sure, because it's just disappeared off my screen. Faisal again with the super chat said, love Johnny even more now with the cricket love. Big cricket fan.
We need to build a community of cricket loving game fans.
There must be
someone pitched me a game the other day, and it was like a cricket battle royale called Century.
Okay.
How the hell does that work?
I don't know. I think there's 100 balls or something. 100 run maximum.
Oh my god. I don't know. Look, the funny thing is, my favourite part of the Artful Escape was just holding X and running along. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah,
I could have done that. For the whole time.
That's one of the reasons I think that there's always that question when people have minimal gameplay of like, why choose game as a medium, right? And I think for the Artful Escape, it feels like you're playing music.
Yeah.
That level of interactivity and that feeling of like you have lightning in your fingertips, and you don't get that from listening to music. You only get it from playing music. That feeling of power, and that feeling that you've got a symphony or the doof wagon from Mad Max behind you. And that's why I think the Artful Escape is a great fit for that kind of interactive medium of making people feel like they're part of some composition, or that they're playing music, and that feedback between the player and the game. That's what playing music feels like to me, at least mentally. Yeah, that's my point. I think that was my point. Thanks a lot. And I mean, also like the interactive sections where you get to like choose the player's cost, choose your personas, and their backstory and their home planet and stuff like that, is just another reason why I think the Artful Escape works really well in an interactive medium.
Yeah. It's funny when the timing for it couldn't have been better, right? So a lot of people that watch the podcast know about this, but I'd had a a piddly little 60-inch LG from like 6 years ago, and literally, I think the week of the Artful Escape's release, I was already jealous that Nick had played through it, and because you guys were quite generous in terms of leeway. I think the codes were dropped out like a good week and a bit before the actual game dropped for the public. Great. So I had to sit there like a peasant and wait for it to actually be available for me to play. But timing would work in my favour because I just picked up this 86-inch monster.
Whoa!
I know, it's bonkers, and I am absolutely in love with it. But I said to the wife, I was like, the Artful Escape's out today. I'm working. You can sit down and experience it with me, right? Because I know she likes her music. I was like, but I'm just warning you in advance, any plans you had for this evening are out if you're planning on spending them in the lounge, because I'm there and I'm going to do this in one sitting. And I did. And my little boy was there for the first part of it. And, we talk about gameplay and, accessibility, etc., etc. He absolutely fell in love with it because he's heard stories, he's had dad sing to him with his guitar and stuff like that. He's heard some of my music from back in the day. And just... because there's a couple of things it hit a lot of memories for me, and that was special for me because it brought back those memories of being live and pulling off that perfect moment where it does feel like that symphony is behind you and it lifts everything up and you get to see the crowd react in this really positive way, and you're like, this is the best feeling in the world being on stage. And I haven't experienced that personally for 20 plus years. It's been a while, and just watching him play it, and then can I have a go? And it's not like I have to say to him suddenly, oh, dude, this is really complex and you have to learn how to do this. He was just immediately wailing, and I was like, every time you forget, I'll be like, Jacob, why aren't you jamming? And he'd be like, smashing that X button, and, be like, and it was great. And visually, I was just like, this just it was a screenshot machine. I was just like, screenshot.
Yeah, I know.
And you mentioned the picking the planet you were from. I was like, oh, there's so many, and they all look incredible. Screenshot.
Yeah,
it's
I really enjoyed the star map.
Amazing, yeah, absolutely loved playing it through. And I guess for fans that loved it, it's not the longest game in the world. I think I did it in just over 4 hours, something like that, and in one fell swoop, and it was glorious every minute of every second of it. The voice acting was incredible. I suppose we'll touch on the voice cast a bit in a second, but question from me is and spoiler alert if you haven't played it, sorry, just pause it for a second, but you get to the end and you actually miss the show that you've been worrying about this entire time, right? And you end up going up to the after party and playing your kind of music and actually introducing your stage persona that you've built throughout the course of the journey of the game. And it's a really cool, cathartic moment, and I loved it. And then obviously the game was over. I was like, oh, is there a that maybe the journey of the second album syndrome where, oh, how do I live up to that first debut for Francis Vendetti? Will we see them back in another journey, another adventure in the Cosmic Lung? Is that planned?
I will say that people have sent me lots of ideas for the sequel. That's just one thing that you don't expect when you release a game, that people are going to write whole treatments for their next story, which is like super cool. One person wrote me like a full treatment of like what would happen in the next game and where Lightman would be and stuff, and that's just an absolute delight. I love that.
Wow.
It's not the next game we're making.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Never say never, but it's not the next one.
It's just good to hear there's another one.
Yeah.
Yes, we I'm not allowed to talk about it.
Obviously, yeah. I will say though, and this is another question you may not be able to answer, because you said that originally when you wanted to make the game, you were going to do it as an iPad app.
Yeah.
I still think that game would work really well on phones and iPads. Is there still a plan to bring it to like mobile platforms?
Not at this time.
Okay.
That's all I can say on that.
I assumed you probably wouldn't be able to answer, but like playing through it, and then like the other day I was playing it on xCloud on my phone.
Oh yeah, I played it on xCloud. How is it?
Yeah, so I was playing it on xCloud, and I'm like, yeah, this would still really work like on phones and tablets. Like,
the thing is with the Artful Escape, it's deceptively chunky. Like, like memory use wise and graphics card wise, it's just like
I bet.
So much post processing on the image and so much varied lighting and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, the screen space reflections are unbelievable.
Yeah, all stuff like that. So it's not as easy as you would think to put it on someone's phone. And the kind of I'm going to say hoops to jump through, but I don't mean it's not that bad. The different things that you have to do to get on Apple and what versions of iPhones you have to work on and stuff like that. It's quite tricky for a little team. Yeah,
fair enough.
So you mentioned how Annapurna were totally north side. I believe I'm using some Australian phrasing.
Yeah. Just Melbourne.
Yeah. But I mean, Annapurna are fantastic, and I actually, I played through another one of their sort of published releases, which was Luis Antonio's 12 Minutes earlier this year. I'm not sure if you've played it. It's a point and click adventure game. Again, very art driven, very narrative driven. Some interesting narrative choices, but that's a whole debate for another day.
Pretty. He went for it.
He did go for it. I don't know if he completely stuck the landing, but he did go for it. But we were chatting to him about the experience of working with Annapurna, because obviously Annapurna aren't just a video game publisher. They do film, they do radio, they do theatre. So I don't know how much of the script you penned yourself in terms of the writing but was it a kind of cool moment to suddenly have Lena Headey? Was it Carl Weathers as well?
Carl Weathers,
all of these kind of amazing actors. Mark Strong. Like when I heard that it was the Alien presenter was Mark Strong, right?
Yeah.
I was just like, that is Mark Strong, like he puts on a little bit of a.
We don't throw it out too much in the game. It's not as obvious when Lena Headey's playing a floating asymmetrical space. Look. As far as like how much did I write? I wrote all of it except for all the babies that Carl Weathers says.
Wow.
He wrote
baby.
Yeah. He does that a lot. And he wrote I was just telling Carl about like some of my influences of the character, and he changed some lines and helped me get it right. Helped me get the like lexicon right. Which was wonderful. And I thank Carl so much for that. He was great. But yeah, as far as the writing goes, I wrote all of it. The thing with Annapurna is at least with us, they never tried to get us to change anything. Amazing. They would help you if they thought you could improve somewhere. They're like, this needs to stick more. It needs something here. It needs maybe a more sentimental line, or this needs a little more impact here. And then they let you go and solve that problem, And then the thing is, like, Annapurna has like this library of people you can kind of check out, there's people who worked at Sony Santa Monica. There's like Vela who worked on Sword and Sorcery, like the game I wanted to try and make the iPad. Like he works there. And then, Deb Mars, we do most of our work through, is super experienced game publisher. Yeah. And it's like I think that's the best thing about Annapurna, apart from the money, is that there's like all of these people that with this like amazing advice and experience that can help a team like us.
Yeah. That's a good answer to the question. So the last thing I wanted to touch on, because obviously there's a little bit of Xbox news, but we wanted to make this episode about taking a look back through the Cosmic Extraordinary, etc. Was you guys recently had a pretty good week, because I think you won more than
we won a couple of awards.
You won some awards already.
Some AGDAs. Yeah, I know. Not here to F spiders. Are we allowed to swear on this
podcast?
You
can totally swear. We don't mind so much.
We're not here to fuck spiders. We're been out for a couple of weeks.
We
got
swear.
some awards. It was great. I've never won an award for I've won a raffle, but I've never won like something I earned. So it was cool. And just to it's just nice to stand up and be able to thank your art team. Yeah. Or be able to stand up and talk about like how I worked with Josh Abrahams forever making music for free. Now I got to pay him, and now I'll give him the award. So I know that their kind of awards are kind of poxy or whatever, but they're also a nice time to stand up,
recognize
thank your team.
All of the contributions that everybody made across the board.
I also need some awards for my backdrop.
Yeah, totally. You need like an award shelf.
I need some BAFTAs, damn it.
Well, look.
I want those haunting BAFTA faces looking out at
me. Yes.
Here's the thing.
Interview me.
It's been a crazy year from a gamer's perspective, and I think your game immediately was in the conversation in terms of indie games created by a small team, be it one person, two people, 8 people, whatever, with a lot of other games that really, really did try and punch above their class. Off the top of my head, we had the Artful Escape, we had Death's Door, we had the Ascent. We had 12
Ascent's
minutes.
beautiful.
All of these games that we're trying to do something new, and this is personally why I love indie gaming, is that it isn't just the same old cookie cutter. Here are the systems we know, the average human being enjoys. We're just going to put them in this game, with this wrapper on them, and you can just play through them. They all tried to do their own individual thing. They knew what they were. They didn't outstay their welcome. They were just great games.
There's a line that Lightman says in the Artful Escapes, that an artist's job is to give people something they could never have imagined.
Yeah.
Not give people what they want. And I think there's a blurred line between what is indie. Are we technically indie? We have a publisher. So, there's a blurred line of what indie is and what AAA is and what AA is. But I find that the kind of difference is that a AAA game, because they have to mitigate so many risks, a AAA game can give you everything you want. I mean that in an extremely positive way. They will look at their audience, and when a AAA game gets it right, they'll give you everything you want. But sometimes,
what you think you want.
Yeah, what you think you want, exactly. But sometimes indie games can come from a completely different angle. They don't have to mitigate that risk as much, and they can give you something that you would never have imagined. And I think that's what's cool about indie gaming.
Yep,
it's the frontier.
100%. I completely agree with you, and it's been a hell of a year.
The Artful Escape did give me stuff I wanted. Like, I wanted something. So that's the thing. Like, as I get older, I'm finding I have less and less time for these massive open world, third person crafting, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Like, I love just having something different, small, tight, like... I don't know. I love that sort of stuff. Like,
I think you'll see more of it. I think you'll just see more and more as, like, obviously, music isn't the same cultural torchbearer as it used to be. I think you'll see more musicians coming in. You'll see smaller projects. It's music's had a bit of a rough time. You're in a renaissance of elite television. An absolute arms race of making quality content, and then and gaming is like where all the fresh ideas are and where there's this new medium to explore. So I also have this theory called the theory of fathomability, which is like a medium becomes culturally insignificant once the populace can define how it's put together and define how it's constructed.
Yeah,
which is like when people go to an art gallery and they say, I could have done that. They couldn't have. But they can kind of devise how that art form's constructed.
Yeah.
And music used to be, in these dimly lit, expensive cocoons where only Def Leppard was hanging out. And then it moved to the bedroom, and because it moved to the bedroom, it had a huge influence on what popular music was, what culturally significant music was, and it becomes minimal and it becomes electro, and you'll see like 95% of music, no matter what style, is minimal and electronic, and people think because they have a friend in their bedroom who makes something similar,
has a copy of Logic Pro or whatever.
Exactly, they can define how it's constructed, and it's not true. You couldn't make a song as good as those people, and you couldn't do a Jackson Pollock. It's not true. But a lot of people will think that they can define it, and I think that maybe is a problem of fathomability, whereas like no one thinks they can make Game of Thrones or God of War, what I mean?
Correct.
I haven't.
It's because they're unfathomable. They're so vast.
You can't wrap your head fully around it. I have a regular argument with my wife because she insists on just playing Radio 1 in the UK in our whenever we're in the car, whenever we're on journey. So I get mad because our music tastes are quite different. She does like some of the older classic stuff, but I'm very much a rocker of my era. I was a grunge kid when I was growing up, and I grew up on, from my parents' perspective, on Floyd, Genesis, stuff like that. My parents were big music fans, but my wife was more she's more into just spoon feed me the popular track of the day. And it really winds me up because, especially, it was an argument we'd have every summer. You'd hear the same kind of motifs for every song, and they'd all do the same verse, chorus, middle eight variation, chorus, and and it would always, and it's just like I was doing exactly that. I was like, from a musical point of view, I can't listen to this. There's always an outlier where I could listen to a popular track and be like,
sure,
whoever wrote this song did a really good job, and I can appreciate the talent behind it. But 9 times out of 10, I'm just like, oh. This is just so uninspiring. I feel nothing about this music.
I think pop's 95% of that anyway, and the cream rises to the crop. The cream rises to the top. Cream of the crop.
Cream of the crop. It worked. It worked.
I knew what you were getting at.
I just explained a really detailed theorem, and now I can't talk. Yeah, I mean, I think 95% of pop music's like that. But of all mediums, it's over time. You need that separation to define what's great and what's going to last. I always think, like, whenever someone doesn't like my stuff, I just think, not everyone likes Led Zeppelin. Imagine, like, if you made a band that was as good as Led Zeppelin and not everyone liked you. Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Yeah. As a Tool fan, I'm a big Tool fan. They're probably my favorite band of all time. There's lots of influences, Crimson King and stuff like that within their music, and Genesis, indeed, because it's like a prog rock kind of evolution, but from a heavy metal.
Prog.
But whenever I talk
that guy's drum kit,
Danny Carey is a god.
It's got a gong. It's got a full gong in it.
Have you seen the YouTube video of him playing Numa from their new album? And it's all from Danny Carey's perspective. It's insane. It's like 12 minutes long, and you're like, how are you? He's like 50 something at this point. How does he have the energy?
He's a beast.
Ridiculous. He's a giant.
Not human. I went on tour with Def Leppard one time, and I sat under the curtain underneath, like, just by the drummer's feet, because obviously everyone knows. Well, if you don't know, in the chat,
he's missing an arm.
The drummer from Def Leppard only has one arm.
What a drummer!
And he plays his left hand with his right foot, and so it's just like he's running. And he's doing like drum solos. But definitely a special experience. My little 20-year-old head out from behind the curtain so no one can see me.
I love Def Leppard.
Amazing.
Yeah, Def Leppard are great. You can tell when bands are lovely by how their crew treats them.
Yeah.
And how their crew act. And their crew would, like, write all these, like, positive messages on the ramp going up to the stage and stuff. They just love them. Def Leppard, really awesome guys.
Yeah.
So this being an Xbox podcast,
I know, what a musical tangent.
Yeah, I'm loving the musical tangent. It feels like a very it's Johnny and Friends. As we sit and chat about musical inspiration and video game design. Very, very quickly, last question specifically on the Artful Escape. Then we'll touch a little bit on what we've been playing, news of the week, and I'm conscious of your time as well. So we'll do some community questions from There's
a lot of questions for Johnny too.
Our lovely. Cool. But obviously, Annapurna picked up the game. They were doing the publishing. And I would presume that the whole conversation about Xbox, God, it's definitely, it's coming up on 4 a.m., folks. Xbox exclusivity was probably a publisher-driven decision, right? Or did they discuss that with you? And what was it like working with Microsoft?
The only time I've really worked with them, like, is when we went over and did E3. And everyone was lovely and took me out for dinner.
Oh, that's nice.
So, that's my said hi to Phil, and that was it. That was it. So it's been delightful for me. Like honestly though, Annapurna comes to me and is like, "We've signed an Xbox deal," and I go, "That's great."
Cool. Show me the money.
I don't have much interest in that sort of like that's business side of things.
Yeah.
I try to have my head in the clouds as much as possible.
Wise decision.
Which is always a good thing of the person who owns the business to say that. But I think that's why Annapurna is so great. It's just they get you these opportunities that you would never normally have had, and obviously that kind of goes into the VO as well, and how the VO came about, which I'm just going to segue into.
I love a good segue on this show.
All right. So we did a playthrough for Annapurna once, and there was a bug in the music, and you guys have played the game, so if the half the music wasn't playing, it would really lack something. So
Fair.
that's what happened. And I was playing through, and there's like 20 people on the call, and I was like super devastated. And I just started doing all the voices and like leaning into it, like a Shakespearean actor on Star Trek, that kind of vibe.
Amazing.
And after the call, I was like expected to get a call being like, that was pretty shitty. But they're like, we think we should do voiceover. And I was like, God damn it. What effort have I made for myself here?
Wow.
And then this is the process. It's just like Annapurna being like, who do you want to play Lightman? And I'm like, oh, like who can I have?
Pick a name out of a hat.
Yeah. I'm like, if I could have anyone, I'd have Carl Weathers. And they like, we'll get back to you.
Wow.
And then a week later, they're like, Carl's in. And then a week after that, he's in the studio. He's reading all your crazy nonsense.
Wow, that's incredible.
Wow.
And yeah, it was like Jason Schwartzman, I got to just hang out with for an hour and just talk about movies and music. And that was like a moment. I'll remember that forever. That was just so wonderful. And then when he came into the studio, he had all these props, like he had hats, and like he came in a dressing gown, and he had an umbrella and like a little synth, and we'd like do the line one way. And then I'll be like, yeah, all right, well, let's try and emphasize this bit this time. And he'd flick his cape back and like hold up the umbrella and do the line a different way. It was like amazing.
Wow, that does sound awesome. That must have been a hell of a
like props.
journey. Yeah,
It's just like super surreal, like because it's like, there's no connection because you're not, I'm on Zoom because I can't go anywhere, and it's really Jason Schwartzman talking to you. You know what I mean? It's like weird.
Yeah.
Weird, because I'm like a huge fan of his and of Wes Anderson and everything that goes along with that. So yeah, it's just like I don't know if I can really connect it with meeting them or working with them.
Yeah.
But like hearing Lena Headey like say your ridiculous lines that you've written is pretty joyful.
A little bit of space fluff or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just like,
good. She was great.
She can make anything sound wonderful. So
yeah, I think I saw a comment in the chat that was like, "You totally typecast Lena Headey as the, this galactic,
the floating asymmetrical space head."
Totally typecast.
When she came in, she's like, "So what do you want?" And then she did like 15 different accents and just one after the other. And I was like, "Number 6, please, Royal."
Amazing. Yeah, can you channel a bit of Cerys in there? That would be great.
There's a bit.
Just a little smidge.
Yeah. I didn't say that, but there's a bit.
Yeah.
She was like, I say metal a lot when I'm working. I was like, yeah, that's metal. I like that because you give feedback and everything. And then Lena Headey starts like mimicking me, so she starts going like, "Oh, metal, fucking metal, yes, fucking ripper, mate," which was just a moment.
Superb.
I kept that little piece of recording. I'll never.
That's your text
share
alert.
it, but I do.
Fucking ripper, mate.
I did keep it. Yeah.
Great.
Oh man. Right. Well. Okay. So we've done things in a slightly different order because we did want to dive straight into the Artful Escape because it was such a special little game that I thoroughly enjoyed this year, and it's scary. We were talking about getting ready. Traditional gaming media. What's game of the year? What's the conversation? Normally we do a staff kind of poll where we have the general staffs. We can do honourable call-outs. My list is long this year, and
it's big, isn't it, man?
The Artful Escape's on it, but it's like, God, where do I? What was my favourite?
Probably first. It's probably game of the year.
Yeah, there you go.
I'd like a vote.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Yeah, I mean, what a year! It's also just because like of COVID's pushed all these AAAs back, and it's let these indies come up to the top.
Breathe.
Yeah,
yeah, for
totally.
sure. So
did you play Deathloop? What did you think?
I haven't played Deathloop yet.
Not yet.
It was something I've toyed with picking up on PC, but I'm sure you're aware of the weird situation around the publishing of that game, in that it's owned by Microsoft and Xbox because they bought Bethesda. But it's not out on Xbox or PC for a year from the release on PS5. So yes, I could buy it.
Oh, we're not allowed to talk about that. Sorry.
No, it's good. This is an Xbox podcast.
About it if you want.
It's all open. But for me, it's kind of like I could spend 60, 70 quid, or I could just wait for it to come to Game Pass in a year's time. And it's a single player adventure. It's not going anywhere. I'm not going to be spoiled particularly. So
you're not going to miss the first season.
Yeah, exactly. So there is a bit of that. For
Battle Pass.
Presume, You're not going to miss any exclusive content on the Battle Pass. But speaking of broader terms, because I'm going to try and wrap this up. We've got 9 minutes, and I kind of want to leave half an hour for community questions because I think that should be enough, right? So, just quickly on Xbox, do you actually get a chance to play now that the game's out? Have you had a chance to kind of go and play other games from other people this year? Like, do you actually get a chance to play much? Or
I played Post Void. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's an absolute psychedelic. It's like a punch in the face, a violent punch in the face. Post Void.
Post Void.
Highly recommended.
I'll check that out.
And then what have I played recently? I've been playing some of The Hunt.
The Hunt,
which is a real Hunt Showdown.
Oh,
which is
creepy
super
ass
interesting.
game.
Quite interesting. I really like its creative decisions. Super weird. And then I play Far Cry 6 right now because I played all of the Far Cry games since number 2.
Wow, big fan, big Far Cry fan. I think our reviewer, he's in the chat, Jesse. He really liked it. He said it was probably the best sort of return to form for the series, but a lot of people are out there.
They all seem pretty similar. They
do.
all seem pretty similar to me. Do you know what? If I could change one thing about Far Cry, it suffers from I'll just stand over here syndrome, which is like there's a established conflict, and then when you rock up, they get you to do everything. I feel like they could just, if they just massage that a little bit, I would be a lot happier.
It'd be a little bit more believable.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be because it's just so crazy. It doesn't even matter. But like, you know, because when you can light the Jaguar on fire and attacks people and stuff, like, who cares? But I just why didn't you fix the radio towers?
Yeah.
You know? Why?
This is
why
your war too.
Yeah. Anyway,
But in terms of Xbox news this week,
have you been playing anything, John?
Yeah, it's funny. We were talking about games and complexity and you know how the experiences are driven. You know, an Artful Escape being pretty short, and from a gameplay perspective, if you want to critique it in that way, is fairly simple, I suppose. And there was another game that we're discussing that I guess is indie, which is Disco Elysium. Now it comes out. It comes out on Xbox. This is going to be painful to say. I love detective stories. I love the setting. I love noir, but I am much to Nick's point of I like games that I'm going to hold you by the hand. You're a parent now. I'll get this over and done with in a night. Have fun. And I sat down and we've got a team reviewing it. I think the review's ready to go. It comes out on Monday. And I've been playing it, and I want to love the game. I love heavy narrative. I love reading all the back history, but I'm also like, as soon as it started introducing complex RPG mechanics, I was like, oh no, I don't have the attention span to pay attention to all of this complexity now. I worry I'm going to bounce off it, so I'm just gently trying to massage my way back into it and get a feel for it.
Disco Elysium, if I had to compare it to a food, is a rich fruitcake.
Wow,
it's very rich. It's like so cool.
It's very cool, and I love the. I just loved everything about it.
You got to be prepared to eat that whole
cake.
Fruitcake.
Oh man, I'm not a big fan of fruitcake. It's tricky. I want to love it, and I can totally understand right now why it's so lauded. But and the voice acting really does seem to add something to it as well. Like
I haven't played it with the voice acting. I played it the first time that it came out. Yeah, I thought it's a real achievement, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very cool game. That's what.
I've been playing Metroid Dread. Like, I want something simple, but then I've been playing Metroid Dread, which is like hard as balls, old school Metroid game, but it's so good. Like, just
people love it. Hey.
It's just super tight and smooth, but it's like, when I say old school, it's old school. Like, Ori is a very modern Metroidvania in the way it guides you through and the way it's all structured and set up, where Metroid Dread is just, nah, man.
You better remember that weird path you walked past 20 years ago.
Zero hand holding, very, very back and forth. Like, Ori doesn't make you backtrack too much. it's structured in a much more modern way to not piss people off. Where Metroid Dread is like, nah, I don't give a shit. Like, you know what? This is it. Take it or leave it. You either like whatever, man. Get stuffed. But it's so good. I'm loving it. It's really, really good. But yeah. That's all I've been playing. Metroid Dread, as well as the obvious usuals that I always play.
Yeah, Rocket League, blah blah blah.
Rocket League, Fortnite.
I see you on Discord. You're playing Rocket League 23 hours a day.
That's all he does with his life.
That's all I do.
To be fair, it's a great game. Like I can't knock anyone that plays it. Like sometimes...
I'm so glad no one pitched it to me.
Well,
like because if I was the publisher and they're like, it's a soccer game with cars, I'd be like, get out of my office. That sounds ridiculous.
Rocket League was their second stab at it, right? It used to be called Super Acrobatic Rocket Powered Battle Cars.
Yeah,
that's way better. I
love that name. But
the thing is, it's the same game.
Yeah.
The game is actually almost identical. All they did was basically change the name, and it took off.
Yeah.
I can't complain. We changed our name. We were called the Artful Escape of Francis Vendetti. And people were like, that might be a bit long for search engines. I was like, fair enough.
Fine. It's still in my heart. That's why I still call it.
Cool. People are always they were always like the Artful Escape of Vincent Spaghetti. Like, it was just too much for people.
Also a good side name. But yeah, so in terms of actual Xbox news, there's not a huge amount to talk about. Xbox released some partnerships with some Sweeties and Adidas, and they sent some people some really ugly Xbox shoes.
I didn't like those shoes at all.
No, not a fan.
Those Adidas shoes, they weren't nice.
On the plus side, they did announce and reveal a 20th anniversary Cerys controller, which...
Oh, the C3 one.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice.
Two. Yeah. I got two of them.
You've got too much more money than sense, Nick, clearly. I can't do it.
Yes.
Because one of them's to sit unopened forever, right?
Correct. Yeah. One of them is to just stay sealed. The other one is to use. I want to plug it in and get the theme, and I'll plug it into my kids' Xbox theme and use it because I only have the one controller that I use. So I might as well. I mean, I love translucent. Like, I miss the days when I used to love all the translucent 64s, and I used to have the original Xbox, the Halo one that was the translucent green, and I managed to get that Forza controller. The translucent yellow one.
That one's nice.
It's just such a nice look. I wish more electronics, like at least gaming electronics, would do it. It's such a nice controller. I got two of them.
Microsoft just seemed to just be like, oh, guys, there's a special event coming up. What do we do? It's like, release another pad.
Do it a control.
Poor collectors out there, just shelves full of these things just sitting there. Honestly,
they should do an Artful Escape one. Can you imagine how nuts that would be if they did like an Artful
glitter.
Escape?
It's got lasers coming out of it. It blinds you.
You should. We should reach out to Xbox Pope. He would probably, if we said very nicely, "Hey, Johnny Galvatron wants to see a custom designed Artful Escape pad." I'll see if I can speak to Pope. And there's a guy on Twitter, on Instagram. He's a designer by trade. And he's done a bunch of partnerships with like Bethesda for Doom stuff and loads of different things.
Oh, cool.
I think he is also partnered with. Is it NZT, NXT, the PC case manufacturer? I can't remember the name. NZT?
Yeah, something like that.
But he does these concepts. And sometimes there's another great little store called Treason, or Treason, I think is how they're meant to be pronounced. And they do these kind of vinyl wraps to make a normal white pad look spectacular. So he could do something pretty cool with Artful Escape, I reckon. We'll see if we can rustle it up. But
it's gotta have tassels.
Yeah, I don't know if he goes to that extent, but we'll see. Maybe we can get some lasers in there. Glitter dust. But that's probably about it from an Xbox news point of view. The only thing that is worth a shout out is that you were wrong, and Sora came to Smash Brothers.
I feel like such a dickhead. Like I was like, there's no way known the final Smash character is Sora. There's just no way known, and it was Sora. What do you think it was going to be? I thought it was going to be Master Chief.
From the Halos.
I honestly thought it was going to be Master Chief.
Yeah.
And I thought it was going to be Francis Vendetti.
You thought it was going to be. You thought
he
he was going to take your
I mean, no
character.
one had contacted me about it, but I
Yeah,
thought
yeah,
there was
yeah.
still a chance.
They would just be like, yeah, what are they going to do if we use his IP? No, fine, no worries. Yeah. So you took the L gracefully, but there you go.
Yeah.
So there,
I
Nick was wrong.
cut the clip. I cut the clip and posted it on Twitter.
You go, there's no way it's going to be Sora.
No way
Who's
it's going to be
Sora?
Sora. What a dickhead.
Well, what a great end to a wonderful collaboration of sort of lots of different IPs in one big package. So massive congrats to Nintendo for frankly pulling that off. I've never seen hype like it. Very cool. Very cool. Anyway.
Get Francis in Fortnite.
Yeah, Francis Vendetti in Fortnite
Get
with
Francis
an axe
Vendetti in
guitar.
Fortnite.
Kind of.
Oh, so cool! I'll give Sweeney a call.
Yeah, hey,
Yeah.
bro.
Well, there you go. You've already got that contact with him, and then you have an emote where he just riffs on the guitar, and then you can have a back bling, which is all the light show coming out of his back.
So,
And oh man, that'd be
I met Sweeney once at something. It all blends into one. But I met him at something, and someone introduced me. Chance Ivy introduced me. He's their community manager, I think.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, Tim is like, you guys started my video game career. Like, you gave me this check when I had no money, and now I got a deal and stuff. And I just want to say thanks. And he went, oh, cool. And then he just left.
Later on when he gets outside, who was that guy?
Yeah. He was just like, there's a line where in The Life Aquatic where someone goes up to Steve Zissou and he's like, hi, I don't want to bother you. My name's Ned Plimpton. And he goes, that's okay, man. Just keeps walking.
Oh, man. Good old Sweeney. Bless him. Yeah, so you've just reminded me of one last question, Artful Escape question. The when you put your name in and you go ding, 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 like Bill and was that a direct like, yeah, let's just do a Bill and Ted. Let's just put a little guitar lick in there.
All right, here's the question though. How else do you do it?
Exactly. I mean, I loved it though, but it was just such a nice little like, oh yeah, okay. Cool.
I know. It was like obviously thematically it worked. We were just trying to think of ways, and I was like, oh, they kind of do it in like the first Kill Bill. They use a tone to bleep out Dietrich's kiddo's name.
Yes.
Spoilers.
Spoiler
Kill
alert.
Bill spoilers. And I was like, oh, we'll do a shred. That should work. And I think it worked out okay.
It did. It did. There's only one game I can think of, casting my mind back. Black and White. Did you ever play Black and White by the Lionhead?
I did not.
It's a god game on PC. Really freaked me out when I was a kid because what they did was they took in a bunch of examples of names, and if you just typed in an example of like, so I just typed in John because that's my name. I was like John, and I'm playing, and I'm sitting there, and I've got headphones on, and then you're in the world, you're doing things, creating your civilization, and then suddenly the game went John.
Oh,
like that. And I'm like,
super creepy.
I'm like, oh god, did I imagine that? And I had to, because this is like before big forums and stuff like that. And I'm like,
what is going on?
And I ended up googling it. And yeah, they did that for a bunch of names. So like, if you had a common name, they just snuck that in. I was like, you devilish swine. But yeah, I don't think they'd be able. I can't expect every game to pronounce Sikamikanico in the correct way. Fair.
But
fair.
us Johns,
we're good.
usually get by.
Yeah. It's kind of like the good catch-all name. Anyway,
Nick's not as lucky.
No, perhaps not. We're at the point in the podcast where we're going to dive into our community questions. So this is where our community, and it's usually our patrons, they get exclusive access to post on our forums and ask questions for the podcast every week because they are patrons. So before we dive into them, big shout out to those lovely patrons. We've had a bit of a jump, lots of new faces overall joining the Patreon. But of these particular lot, these are our tier 2s and 3s that chuck us loads of cool stuff. So big thank you to Crowat56, Bloss the Bass, Nodorius, Not Jack, Sowing Shade, The Scarecrow 121, TornRaptor, VK Andrew, Brit, Cerys, Creaky Legs, who does legendary clips and gifs on Twitter. I loved seeing him join the Patreon, so thank you for your support. Crazy Spaz, Duke Chaos, Nottian, Morventhus, Gabquist, Hexa, J Rapper, Prof JJJ, Red Sun, Shadowgasm, Somnia, and Running Riot. Much love to you guys. So I hand the mic over to Nick. He's going to read through all the community questions. There's lots in there. very conscious of time, so we'll try and keep this to about 24
Yep.
minutes. Go.
Well, there is a super chat we said we'd read.
Oh, thank
By
you.
Joaquin
Thank
Branch.
you, yep.
Yep. Gents, in a hypothetical world in where crystal dynamics can be extracted, then Splinter Cell and Titanfall can be as well. Thoughts? Love the pod. Yeah.
I'd be up for having those IPs and video games within those IPs.
If Microsoft could find a way to extract Splinter Cell and Titanfall, I'd be all for that.
I'd be wary of a
Titanfall's
Titanfall not developed by Respawn, though.
Yes, very much so.
Just saying.
But Splinter Cell, sure, and
Let's-
get Crystal Dynamics to do Splinter Cell.
Honestly, just
I'll
let
take that too.
anyone have a stab at Splinter Cell.
Yeah, I
now.
know.
Like,
Let Johnny make it. Let
Yeah.
Johnny do Splinter Cell.
Yeah, I'll make a weird psychedelic one.
yeah, like you wake up and he's actually being interrogated, and it's just the trip he was going through while he was on the truth-telling
I would
serums.
never do that.
Ah.
Never.
He'd never
I
get
would
captured.
never do it was all a drug trip.
Are you sure?
It is a drug trip.
Oh god, that's good. Okay, first community question, Frank Ortiz. This week's question won't be as spicy as the last one. Forgive me if you've already discussed this already, but I'm dying from curiosity. What exactly happened with Remedy and Microsoft, more specifically between the time Quantum Break finished and when they began production on Control with 505? Was there some breaking point between the publisher and developer, perhaps even a difference in what the next game should be? Is there serious bad blood between the two? I've done some of my own research, but I keep getting different answers. Some articles say they wanted to go off on their own after the Microsoft Live Action division was closed, which Remedy was a big supporter of. Others say Microsoft wanted them to make Alan Wake 2. However, Microsoft wanted the IP, which was something Remedy refused. I simply cannot find a straight answer, so if you could provide some clarity, that would be wonderful. Thank you, gents. Have a very disappointing day, like ordering a 10-piece McNuggets. Only to have your dreams crushed, realizing they gave you 9.
That is a depressing moment for any Nug fan.
Like, who knows what happened with Remedy?
Yeah,
I don't know. Certainly don't know the story, but
I can't shed any particular light on it. I can only share what we all see on Twitter, which is on face value it seems very courteous and normal. But yes, I suppose if you're a big avid video game fan and you pay attention to a lot of socials of individual developers, you might see a bit of snark coming from some within the Remedy camp towards Microsoft. And yeah I mean, look, Remedy make Remedy games. I think they're quite unique in everything that they make.
And they usually take a long time to make them.
They usually take a long time to make them. And I don't think, regardless of the partnership that Microsoft have with them over a long period of time, I don't think any of them particularly set the world on fire.
No.
So it could have been the case of, what I guess my gossip queen, if I put the gossip hat on, my supposition is that Quantum Break there was being a game, and then they were like, yeah, we're doing TV and stuff now, so can you make all these live episodes? And we've heard the stories. Quantum, Remedy wanted to do those things, but I can't help but feel that there might have been a little bit of please make these things to validate this team's direction and existence from MS. And the game, the only thing that was really criticised from the game's point of view was all of the TV stuff that you were forced to watch when you wanted to do was actually play a game. So I have no idea. But at the same time, they're partnered for Crossfire X, which admittedly is a Smilegate production. So business is just business. Like, try not to. People can have individual and personal preferences, but if you think about the types of game Remedy make, arguably PlayStation is a really good fit for them. Like narrative-driven, third-person action-adventure games. I enjoy Control. Let them just crack on. I wouldn't worry too much about it. People just change their minds over things over time. That's about all I can really offer on the Remedy situ. Very curious to see what Smilegate, what Crossfire X campaign is like, though. Very curious to see Remedy do a first-person shooter campaign. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see how it comes.
Next, Creaky Legs.
Creaky Legs.
Hope you boys are doing well. Hopefully you scored the latest of the never-ending limited edition Xbox controllers this week. Yes, I did. I got 2. I have bought more controllers in 30 days than I have in the past 8 years. Anyways, I was showering listening to the XboxEra podcast last week, as one does, when a spider the size of a walnut runs across my shower curtain. I, of course, in my most vulnerable state, immediately exit the other side of the shower now, doing the full Monty nude like a helpless otter trying to swim away from the killer whale. when it finally hit me. Why didn't I join the official XboxEra Patron sooner? The conclusion of the story was that eventually it ran down the curtain onto the tile floor where I stomped it to death with every bit of courage I could muster in my flip-flops. In Australia, we call them thongs. The rest of the shower was quite nice after. Love a good strawberry-scented body wash. All right, I wanted to say the Artful Escape is definitely a Game of the Year contender for me. That game oozed good vibes, and the customization options later on were really fantastic. Me and the missus spent probably 30 minutes getting our character, whom we named the Whimsical Duck, to look like the coolest cat travelling through the Cosmic Extraordinary. Have a great weekend and rest of the show, and happy Thanksgiving weekend to all my Canadian friends, Creaky Legs.
Oh,
No question, just a...
It's a nice little statement. Out of that, though, I'm realising how uncomfortable I am at the thought of a man listening to my dulcet tones whilst lathering himself naked in the shower.
Yeah.
I'm really comfortable with it.
You got to do it again for this episode, Creaky. Have a good wash. Yep. There you go.
Okay. DeoGame. I think this is DeoGame's question, saying, just wanted to start by saying how excellent the game was. I loved it, which I assume he's talking about the Artful Escape. Anyhow, my makeshift question is as follows. Xbox is making strides to bring diverse genres and experiences to Game Pass. Artful Escape alone is a trip unlike any I've ever played. What do you think are the genres fans may be sleeping on in the world of AAA sad dads, games to service, time sinks, and mega RPGs? Cool. Well, I mean, I was going to say this to Johnny before. There's a game, I don't know if he's played it, was made in Melbourne as well, called The Gardens Between.
Oh, yeah, I've played it. It's like a time puzzle game. Yes,
where you can sort of reverse and speed up time and stuff like that. And I was going to say it's another one of those little, just, it's not long, it's not complicated, but it's just such a cool little game.
It's a gem. It's a gem. It's got heart.
Yeah.
That's what we say about indies, isn't it? It's got heart. It's charming.
Yeah.
Mm.
Pick a buzzword.
Play Post Void. That's got no heart and it's not charming. It's a punch in the face.
Okay. I did have a look. Post Void is a hypnotic scramble of early first-person shooter design that values speed above all else.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it looks punk. It's a visual depiction of punk.
Okay.
Oh god, it really does.
For me, that's the genre. Like those cool little. I'm not going to say puzzle games because, like, the Artful Escape's not a puzzle game, but then the Garden Between is like it's just those little games that, in some cases, people might not give a look to otherwise.
Have you played Descenders on Game Pass?
Yeah, the bike game.
Yeah, it's dope.
Yeah,
like a roguelite mountain biking game. Get onto it. It's fun.
Have you played Lonely Mountains downhill?
Oh, it's kind of like a third-person bike game. I haven't played it. Should I play it?
Yes, you should.
Awesome.
That was my game of the year in 2019.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, holy hell! I gotta play it.
It's one of the rare times I've been playing a game and I'm like, it's got an instant restart, right? And that's always dangerous because the whole point is do this as fast as possible, and it becomes more and more deviously, and you got all these variations of bikes that some have really good suspension, so you can try for this ridiculous shortcut versus pure speed. And it gets very addictive, and suddenly you're like, okay, 4 hours have gone by, and there was a massive leaderboard battle going on between me and a couple of friends where we were like, no, I've just beat you by 3 seconds, bro. You know, so yeah, 100% recommend it. It is absolutely superb from an indie bike game perspective. Not that the Descenders isn't great, but out of the two, I prefer Lonely Mountains. But yeah,
okay.
Genesis Noir is another one on Game Pass.
Genesis Noir, I've heard of that. I haven't played it, but I've heard of it.
That's the jazz-fueled trip through the creation of the cosmos. I did a review for it because they didn't send out code, but it came out and it was like, I've been waiting for the game. And I had an evening, so I just absolutely smashed it. Great experience, especially if you're into how music and art can combine to form a story. It's, again, very much not so much to figure out in terms of gameplay, but you are pulled through the creation of the cosmos via metaphor. It's really good. Definitely check it out. Genesis Noir. 4 or 5 hours.
Keep pumping through.
Yep.
Okay. TornRaptor. Hi, Sick, Nick, and Mr. Galvatron. And then we've got a little gif of Galvatron from Transformers. Yeah. When will we see Halo campaign? At the time I am writing this, the game releases in exactly 2 months. It will miss the Game Awards for a pre-release trailer, so will they drop a trailer on YouTube? Or maybe do a Halo Direct next month? Other option is it shows up at the 20-year thing Microsoft may or may not do. What do you guys think?
November.
Not sure.
No, I'm pretty sure November you'll see it. And yeah, I think
Probably.
20 years anniversary, 15th, around that point is a sensible time to show it off.
Yeah.
I've heard some things, which I'm not going to repeat on the podcast for the risk of having my wrists slapped and my legs cut off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think November is a very solid bet. And it's a bit of a, well, yeah, it's not going to be the day before the game comes out. So yeah, November. There you go.
Yeah.
That's my take.
Okay. See, I said for how long I'm going to skip the vape, and I'm finally going to get a hold of a pipe.
I'm so proud of you right now. You've got a prop.
got the pipe.
You're channeling your inner Carl Weathers right now. This is great.
Yeah. I've been wanting a proper pipe for ages because the vape looks stupid.
I'm gonna get the rock on as well here. So here we go.
I jumped on eBay, and I finally got the pipe out for Cerys' question.
Okay.
Cerys, here we go. Hello, occupants of interplanetary craft, and especially hello, Johnny. I love Artful Escape and had to pause my playthrough to play again from the beginning with my daughter, who is totally enamored by it. She has recently started violin lessons, and though it was her idea and she wants to play, she needs a little firm guidance in doing her homework. I bought an acoustic bass to learn with her, reading music and rhythm. We are preparing a duet of Saint Saiyan. Is it Saint Saiyan? Dance Macabre. I don't even know if I pronounced any of that properly, which we hope will prod buttock. I wish we had kept our rock band stuff, but it has long gone the way of the plastic dodo as we moved from small house to small flat. My daughter loves music, and I can't wait to take her to her first gig. She loves David Bowie and Daft Punk especially. Wow, that's an interesting juxtaposition there. I have
two posters in my living room right next to each other, and it's David Bowie and Daft Punk.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
What are the odds?
There you go.
I don't have the heart to say she has no chance of seeing either, especially in the middle of Bumblefuck. The hell is that?
It's a British term for I'm in the middle of Bumblefuck nowhere, or
well, in Australia we have Bumfuck nowhere.
Yeah,
okay.
Same. We use that too.
Yep. Anyway, question time. With Christmas fast approaching, our children have been making lists. Our eldest wants an electric puppy that she can walk and play with. Aside from cheap pull-along things that yap, I have no idea what an electronic puppy is. So, entreat you. Panel to make suggestions if you have heard of such a thing. As at this point, I am thinking it would be easier to just buy a dog and glue some ribbon cable to it and make it look sci-fi. Bye, Johnny. You're the best. Cerys.
Wow.
Put a SCSI cable. Put a SCSI cable on an actual dog.
Yeah.
And SCSI cables make everything look like a robot.
Man.
Get her a Switch. Well, they probably already have a Nintendo Switch.
Is there a puppy? Is there a puppy game on Switch?
Nintendogs probably.
Nintendogs.
So there's Paw Patrol. There's the Paw Patrol games.
I think I have a feeling Cerys' kid is a bit old for Paw Patrol. I mean, electronic puppies. I mean, they've been around for years. They yap. They backflip.
Mm.
Yeah.
You can't take any of them for a walk.
Nah.
Yeah.
No. We got my kids a robot dog, and it learns what you tell it, and it's got a rechargeable battery, and it can talk to you and play and all that sort of stuff. They loved it for like a month, and then it never got used.
Yeah,
ever.
I think that's the case with most. It's something I keep trying to tell my wife, who tries to go bigger and better every Christmas. I'm like, one decent present. That's all they really care about. Everything else can be the toot and the fluff. Because if you constantly throw everything you have at the wall, you just end up with a house full of crap. And at the moment, trying to finish the renovations of this place, there's bags and bags and bags. And I'm at the point where I'm like, hey, haven't touched it in a year and a half. Clearly it's not needed anymore. Let's just chuck it in the skip. And she's like, yeah, but can you just go through it? I'm like, why? Well, there's nothing in there.
Johnny's about to discover this. Don't worry, it's coming, John.
Yeah. Are you house renovating?
No. He's got a little one.
It just turned 1.
Oh, he's still saying it.
Yeah.
It just turned 1. Don't want to put any labels on it.
No,
It's a
no,
baby.
fair.
So,
Very modern parenting of you.
He'll be discovering the joy.
He's been getting on a lot of my press, crying out when I'm trying to do the bloody Washington Post.
Nice.
Quiet, child.
Oh man,
Now,
kids are
Speaking
awesome.
of children, Cerys's daughter has a question for you, Johnny. As Cerys said, she loved the Artful Escape, and she wanted to ask you a question. So I've been sent it in audio form. So I'm going to play it. Hopefully you can hear it. Okay, here we go.
I'm going to ask... what am I going to ask him? I don't know it. I'm going to ask, why are there monsters in the game that you don't have to beat? Just with music you can beat it. Why is that actually not that you have a little sword to fight it? Why is that not like that? That's my question.
Such a good question.
Solid.
That's such an amazing question. I'm so happy with that question. And I want to say, if you're watching, that I've done a lot of press, and that's one of my favorite questions that I've been asked. That's great. I think it's a default. You know, it's standard for a lot of games to have you beating people and fighting people. But it's important to understand what your game is about. And our game's about someone who's finding some courage within themselves and someone who's learning to step out from the expectations of others and do what they want to do. And I thought that character didn't need to hurt anyone and didn't need to get hurt to achieve those goals. So Francis plays music and he gets influenced by people and he tries to become a better person through that. And so he doesn't need to hurt anyone. That's why he doesn't have a little sword. And I love that question.
I'm so glad I'm wearing shades right now.
That was a good question. I'm glad. So you could hear that okay?
Yeah, it came through fine, man. That was adorable as well.
Okay.
Good God.
Yeah, so adorable.
My ovaries.
Okay, Cerys. Hopefully she's happy that the question got in, Cerys.
Yeah.
Okay, Predrag. Hi, John, Nick, and Johnny. Predrag is our designer, our art guy who does the backgrounds for the podcast, the intros, the look, almost everything. I'm going to take a little bit of credit for some stuff, but Predrag does like 99% of it. Okay. Hi, John, Nick, and Johnny. I was a big fan of the Australian electronic scene around 2006 to 2009. We called it Dingo Pop. Okay. And the presets, Cut Copy, Grafton Primary, Empire of the Sun, Bag Raiders were dominating our playlists and mixtapes. Man, Cut Copy is very underrated. It was an electro-pop, synthwave, over-the-top 80s renaissance. Every party at the time was an epic extravaganza, just like the Artful Escape. Thank you for your game. It reminded me of that time and how music and art are important in our lives. Now, the question for Johnny. Who will you cast for the Artful Escape movie?
The exact same people.
Yeah,
Wow.
I knew you were going to say that.
The exact same people. Like, the kid, Michael Johnston, who plays Francis Vendetti, looks exactly like Francis Vendetti.
Oh, wow.
If he was more good-looking and ripped. So I would totally cast him. I'd cast Caroline Kinley as Violetta. She's perfect. And seriously, I'm just gonna. Is that boring? It's
No.
everyone who's in the game would perfectly play their role in the film.
The thing is, if I think about a film, like, would you go the live action route and CG the crap out of all the environments and have all like different art styles? Like you could have, you know, riffs off of like animation and then CG animation.
Wouldn't it? Yeah, looks like heavy metal or something.
Yeah.
I would like it to be live action, but with all the creatures being stop motion.
Oh,
Good
wow.
choice.
The most expensive route
Yeah.
that we could go.
The most expensive and time consuming.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not, indeed? And now I really want to see Artful Escape the movie, but yeah, maybe soon.
Yeah.
Annapurna.
Got to say though, Predrag, 2006 to 2009 was a good period for Australian
Dingo Pop.
electronic music. Yeah, like they're all great. Presets, Cut Copy, Empire of the Sun, like really good.
I I played this festival called the Zoo in Adelaide, a notoriously disastrous festival. One of the absolute like benchmarks of it's the Australian kind of like fire festival.
Oh god.
And it was like they only had like bike guards or bike railings for the D barricade, and people fell through them. And then they were like, you could buy a ticket that got you anywhere that I went, and I was playing. So like we got off stage and there was like just people drinking up Ryder and like, you know, sitting in our green room and stuff. And then I think everyone had quit by about 2:00 who worked at the festival. And then
wow,
the whole crowd just poured into the backstage area, and Cut Copy rocked up to play the headline set. And I know that their sound guy is our sound guy sometimes, and I waved to him and he waved, and then they just turned around and left.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was like a massive disaster of a festival.
Good God.
Jesus. Cut Copy's great, though. Cut Copy's
so
really
good. So good, really talented. One of the guys from Cut Copy made that game where you're in a little cauldron and you have a pickaxe.
Oh, the one where you swing over your head. It's just the head in the cauldron. Oh god, I forgot the name of it. It's a riff on play on words. It's like it's something to do with height.
Someone's screaming at the screen right now.
Come on, chat, help me out. What was that game with the head in the cauldron and you swing the pickaxe and you have to like grab onto like tiny little pixels of stuff and flick yourself up with physics? I can't remember the name. Someone will tell us.
I can't remember either. Okay. That's full on. But I do love all those Australian electronic bands. They're great. But the golden period of like electronic or house music is like 96, I reckon, to about 2005 for me. That's like...
Well, Josh Abrahams, who did the music with, he's the Addicted to Bass guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And he did Moulin Rouge and he did a bunch of stuff. But that's my lifelong musical partner is...
That's awesome.
Josh, Addicted to Bass.
Totally addicted to bass.
Bam.
Wow.
Yeah. At the height of my like comedic appreciation is when someone tells a well-timed Addicted to Bass joke to Josh. I'm usually on the floor.
The game was called Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy. Yeah, that was the head in the cauldron game. Absolute bastard to play as well. But yeah.
Okay. A couple of super chats. Just go through them quickly. Louis Bill, the new Xbox acquisitions are the friends we made along the way. And another one from Faisal. Also, a guitar is an axe.
Totally true.
Yes.
Totally true.
We know that. Okay. Somnia. Hello, John, Nick, and Johnny. In honor of spooky season, I'm currently playing through Alan Wake Remastered, and then I'm going to give Visage a shot on Game Pass. That game looks very scary. With that said, what are some of your favorite horror games of all time? Any particular reason you like those? If you haven't given it a shot, I highly recommend Eternal Darkness. That was on GameCube. If you are somehow able to play it. While not my favorite, it's a classic that was sadly not heavily purchased to my knowledge. One of the better games on GameCube. Dead Space. I'm always going to say Dead Space. Dead Space is amazing.
As this podcast audience all knows, giant wuss can't play horror to save my life.
You don't play horror games.
Can't do it. No. I've tried.
Johnny?
I do like... I thought I loved Alan Wake, and then I played the remaster. It's like the writing is really bizarre in that game.
Yeah.
I think the writing's really weird in a lot of Remedy games. Doesn't seem to like mesh with my brain, whatever it is, the writing in those games.
I love Alan Wake.
Alan Wake is the best torch in gaming history, I feel.
Yeah. That's a fair comment.
It's got such power. It looks so cool. I don't know what it is. But
it's such a cool game.
I like Alan Wake. I don't know. I'm the same. I don't play a lot of horror games. I'm going to go with Alan Wake.
Yeah, I mean, I have played Alan Wake, so I guess I can throw.
I adore Alan Wake.
But yeah, I can't play through a horror game to save my life. I just, I'm notorious. The Alien Isolation. As soon as the alien appeared in Alien Isolation, I was just like literally reached across and just pressed the power button. I was like, I'm out.
That game, I thought, did such a good job of like recreating the environments of the first.
Oh yeah,
visually, incredible work.
Really pretty game, isn't it?
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Too much.
I will say, if it was a fully fledged game, technically it's a demo, but PT, playable teaser, which was for Silent Hills, man, shit my pants.
Yeah, I loved the Silent Hill games back in the day.
Yeah.
I like that kind of spooky. No, I'd kind of rather play the Shining than Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Has anyone made a emotional, psychological, great horror game that's not about the
jump scares,
kind of macabre horror?
I don't know if I can answer that question.
I can't think of it off the top of my head right now, but I'm pretty sure it exists.
I'm sure it does.
But,
Give Dead Space a go, Johnny.
Yeah.
Give Dead Space a go.
There's a remaster, isn't there?
Yes, so wait for the remaster. Wait for the remaster. But I adore Dead Space. It's just, they're so good.
There's a lot of stomping, I hear.
Yes, there's some stomping and some cutting, but it's just, I don't know what it is. It's just so scary, but it's so good. And yeah, I love Dead Space. Okay, DirtyFlint. Hello, lads. What's the strongest animal you think you could reliably take out in a fight?
Are we armed with anything?
That's all the question is.
It doesn't specify, so...
I'm assuming no weapons.
Yeah,
like hand-to-hand.
Queensbury rules.
Yeah, hand-to-hand combat. Definitely couldn't take out a kangaroo. Those things will kick the shit out of you.
No, it would disembowel you.
Yeah, kangaroos will kick the shit out of you.
I reckon I could take a lot of animals that are, like, shorter than, like, my knee down. Easily.
But like a dog? Like a really aggressive dog?
Well, I've always heard this story about dogs, right? In that if one goes
here
to
we go.
attack
Here's
you...
the tip. Here's the tip.
If one goes to attack you, I've heard this is a thing. This is like an urban legend at this point. Maybe I'll Google it. I've never been so inclined. But if you grab a dog's two front paws and pull apart like that... Apparently... If you're in the situation where you're being attacked by a dog, it does something to their ribcage and just stops them dead. I don't know if it kills them or if it causes a cardiac arrest or something like that.
That reminds me of that story about sharks. If you're in a shark's mouth, they say jab it in the eyeballs. I don't know how many people are going to...
Once you're in a shark's mouth, the game is over.
Pretty much.
They say just jam it in the eye. I'm like, yeah, cool. I'm going to think that way while I'm in the mouth of a great white shark.
I'll try and get the eye from the inside. Swallow me slightly more.
It'd be like Drax trying to cut his way out in Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Yeah.
Maybe
dog. Animal.
Koala bear?
Maybe
do you reckon you could take one?
Koala, yeah, one pole.
I don't know. I feel like you have to subtract points if the creature is docile.
Yeah. Like a
sloth. You can't. Yeah, like a real big sloth. It doesn't count as much as like an angry small cat.
Yeah. I don't know, man. When cats proper, like, when they're crazy, like, you've seen the videos when they're like, yeah, I'm on your leg now, bro, and I'm not letting go, and you're like... Yeah.
Cats can be mean. Cats, yeah. It's funny, I saw a video on YouTube just recently, because it just popped up for some random reason in my recommendations, or was it on Twitter? I can't remember. And it was cats that were, like, beating up other bigger animals. Like, there was a bear that ran away from a cat, a crocodile...
I've run away from a cat.
Oh, man.
Yeah, an angry cat.
Anytime.
Not messing with an angry cat. But yeah.
Okay.
Interesting question.
Next question. Good old Collingwood. Hello, John, Nick, and Johnny. Hope all is well with you. Johnny, I listened to your first interview with Major Nelson and then with Colt Eastwood. Both great interviews. Cross fingers, your game will be nominated for Best Game Score for Jeff Keighley's The Game Awards. Has there been any talk of ports to other platforms? We were talking about this before. That. Yes, can't say right now. So, the return of the Kinect has just been announced in Britain.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah.
Yes. John will have to get one and do a review for XboxEra. What were your favourite games? Did you go hunting ghosts with your Kinect? Good old Collingwood. P.S. Can you imagine playing the Artful Escape on Kinect?
Air guitar. Totes.
Everyone.
I think there is an absolute treasure of a game on Kinect, and that's Fantasia Music Evolved.
It was cool. I played the demo of that. It was
big
good.
inspiration of mine. Lovely game. You should play it.
Dance Central's my favourite. I adore the Dance Central games. I still have a Kinect, and I have an Xbox 360 and the 360 Kinect. I still have Kinect version 2. I still have Dance Central. Those games are, yeah.
Wow.
I always liked Kinect.
Well, my favourite game that I played on the Kinect was Kinect Adventures, which Double Fine, I believe, developed. And the reason for it is I had recently gone through, this is a bit of a heavy story. Apologies, I'll make it brief. But I'd recently gone through a divorce, and I was in a rough spot. And my best mate was like, "Oh, bro, I'll move in with you, help pay my mortgage." Total legend. And we've been best buddies ever since, brothers from another mother and all that jazz. And we played Kinect Adventures, and it had the floor is lava, effectively. So there's my front room, and the floor filled up with lava. And we were just goofing around and recording clips because we thought it was hilarious, right? But there was a moment where both of us were like, pretending to melt, and we did the Terminator 2 thumbs down, and the game popped an achievement, and it said, "I know now why you cry." And I was like,
Oh, wow.
amazing! How did they detect that? That is fucking awesome.
Wow.
I have no idea
What?
how they programmed it to recognize the slow. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that for me was just like, there's kind of sentimentality in there, but also great achievement from Double Fine. So yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome.
Round of applause.
there you go.
Yeah.
That's my
Awesome
favourite
story.
Kinect game.
Okay. Next, this one's less of a question, more of a comment from Doncasbesa. Johnny, Sleepy Sick, and Panel. No question here. Just wanted to say that I played through the Artful Escape live over on XboxEra's Twitch page. Do you know that XboxEra streams multiple times every week at www.twitch.tv/the_XboxEra?
It's true.
And it was a captivating experience that I loved. I cannot wait to see what you have in store next, Mr. Galvatron.
Oh,
That's all.
Thanks very much. Thanks for playing. Thanks for saying
Yeah.
you like it in public. I like
on
that.
air.
Yeah, on air. I'm down.
I'm going to try and annoy Johnny after about getting the exclusive announcement of their next game.
Oh yeah. Well, hey, I don't do that stuff. I don't do.
He's not a
I
business
control
guy.
Nothing. I control nothing. I just make the games and then I try to avoid everything else.
Wise decision.
Okay. And there's not much to go now.
Three
We're just about
questions
done.
left.
MDHX. Hi guys, just wanted to know your opinion on a possible portable Xbox Series V being in development. What roles does such a device play in the age of Steam Deck and the Switch? Do you think a cloud-only portable is any good? And if it's not just cloud-only, are you okay with the new target that developers have to aim for when developing for Xbox?
We got pinged on
I don't
this
know.
earlier in the week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. What if they're trying to shrink? Like maybe the tech has come along far enough where they could like shrink the Series X internals enough to make it a big portable.
You mean like the Series S?
It's
right?
about heat. It's
Yeah.
about heat.
Yeah. Heat,
It-
battery.
Yeah.
I
I don't know. As a developer, that sounds scary.
Yeah, I mean, I'll express the opinion I expressed to one of our colleagues in the community who reached out to see if we'd heard anything. And that is,
Who?
that they've developed xCloud and their whole ethos of play with the devices you already own for a reason. I could understand if they did for the OG Xbox anniversary, they went the N64 mini route or the PlayStation mini route and just had like a little OG Xbox thing. But I doubt it. xCloud is the reason that is not a path. And as I said to Boom, we're finally at a point over the Xbox One generation where Microsoft have got all their studios finally lined up, plus a bunch of ones that they just went out and bought. And they're finally making games, and we're finally seeing the fruits of that labor. Do you really want to then say, hey, can you split development resources and start making things for this device and this device? And this, it's not going to happen. The xCloud covers that because you don't need to program it for something else. It can just work off of cloud-driven server blades. So that's my call. I could be wrong. Don't know.
Yeah.
But there you go. That's my thoughts.
So that question and the next two came just now while we were on the podcast. These last two. Not Jack. This is a good one for Johnny. Not Jack. If each of you had $200 million budget to make any type of game, what would it be and why?
Shane Warne Cricket 99 remake.
There you go. Mic drop.
Absolutely. And it's like it follows Shane Warne around. It's not just on the field. You like got to text people and like you've got to go to the pub and and hang out with Liz Hurley or whatever, and like go. You've got to watch St Kilda lose the football for years on end.
Amazing.
That's my one.
Wow.
Hey,
That's a
both
game.
Geelong and Collingwood have beat St Kilda in the grand final.
You did it twice in 1 year. Oh well, drew and then you won.
We drew, and then beat
A
them.
great
yes.
moment. And for people who don't know, in the AFL, I think they have changed the rule recently.
They have
But if
changed
you
the
win-
rules since
If you draw the grand final, you don't play after time. You have to come back next week,
next week.
play again.
Yeah, and when
And
they
that happened-
realised
it
how
has
silly
happened
that was, yes, when they realised how silly that was in modern times, they changed the rule and said, okay, now if there's a draw in the grand final, we're going to play extra time. But there's been 3 draws in AFL history, and Collingwood was involved in 2 of them.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah.
So your game's about Collingwood?
Nah, my game. I don't know. 200 million, man. I'd probably make what I wanted Perfect Dark to be. Third person, linear stealth action thing. That's just like, obviously, the more linear you make it, the more crazy you can go with the visuals. But yeah, that's what I'd do. Super high budget stealth action thing, I reckon.
Yeah.
I know that's boring, but
I'd make a sci-fi kind of like you're set in like some sort of unique space station out on the outskirts of nowhere, and you'd be some form of security officer or detective. It'd have a bit of a noir twist to it, but it's super dense but very cool area. It's all kind of, it's not open world, but it's open in terms of exploration. Tons and tons of voice characters, and basically no hand holding. You've actually got to go and figure out, how a particular crime was committed, and they can chuck loads of stuff in you. Yeah, that's what I'd make. I'd love to see something like that. Why?
people like their hand holding.
Yeah, I know. I like hand holding, but at the same time, if I was going to make a game, I'd get my arty hat on. But yeah,
Metroid Dread's getting a lot of complaints because there's no hand holding.
kids
Okay.
nowadays.
Last question. I like this one too. Phalaxis, who I think is another Aussie. Afternoon, gents. When it comes to watching cricket, what do you prefer? Test match, 1 day, or a T20?
I like the concept that you can like turn on a game Monday morning, and
it's
then
done by
Friday
the night.
afternoon you can turn it on, and it's still fucking on.
Oh, so you
So-
like the tests?
All white. I put on the new cricket, but I listen to repeats of Richie Benaud, so I can get back into the 90s when the commentary team in Australian cricket was at its prime.
Oh, yeah.
Bill Laurie, Tony Gregg,
Yeah.
Richie Benaud.
Did you like the
And,
12th man? Tell me you like the 12th man.
Yeah, I think that if you go back and listen to the 12th Man now, you'll find that it really hasn't aged that well politically.
Yes, it hasn't.
But I would say Test match cricket against either India or England,
Yeah.
and in this that's my answer. And I think the problem is though with cricket is it makes my intake of Kentucky Fried Chicken go up so high because Kentucky Fried Chicken sponsor all the cricket in Australia,
Yes.
and I'm always like, I'm my own
I'm in
man.
the
No
mood.
advertising is going to tell me what to do or buy, and then I'm like, where did all this Kentucky Fried Chicken come from? And it's the cricket.
Just like the ad. Did someone say KFC?
Exactly. That's what
That's what I
happens.
You reminded me of
but-
the classic Bill Hicks joke where he's talking about Coca-Cola, and he's like, "Do you ever see the two women, and they've got beautiful woman, and it zooms out, and then you've got the body, and it zooms out, and she's just there, with the Coke between her legs, and it just says drink Coke. I don't know about you, but I'm drinking a lot of Coke." That was the kind of riff and the joke he made, but that is modern advertising, I think. But yeah,
Getting at me through my love of cricket.
there you go.
Well, I'm when I used to watch cricket, I preferred the 1 dayers. Bit more action in the 1 dayers.
Sure.
Bonus question: if the Xbox era team competed in a sport, what would it be? Phalaxis. Look, mate. I don't know what sort of shit I'm going to cop for this answer, but I am more than willing to admit that I was a gun soccer player back in the day. I mean, I'm being Greek,
Sorry.
That's what we all played back then.
Gun
Like-
soccer.
I was a gun soccer. No.
Sorry,
See, Johnny knows exactly what I mean when I say I'm a gun soccer player.
Explain the
but you
Aussie
don't.
lingo here, please.
Gun.
A gun.
Like a gun. Like I said it to Johnny in the Skype chat. Like when he added me on Skype, I'm like, you're a gun. Like a gun is a word for like you're a legend, you're a superstar.
Okay,
I reckon it's usually used in sporting terms, though. Don't you?
Yes, it is. It's in sport. Like you're a gun. Like I back in the day was a gun soccer player. I still to this day firmly believe if I had stuck to soccer and committed, I would be playing like legitimate professional soccer. I truly believe that.
Wow.
But I was lazy and just So I played indoor soccer for like 20 years. And got invited to play for different teams and all sorts of stuff. Like I was a legitimately good soccer player.
My answer is beer darts. And I don't know if you've ever played beer darts, but you have 2 teams, and you have just regular darts, and you put a can of drink between your feet, and if someone hits your can of beer, you have to scull the beer. And the thing is, you think, well, it's a game of skill, of throwing a dart, but it's not really. It's a game of how close to your friends are you willing to throw that dart.
Wow.
It's a true game of character. That's my answer is beer darts.
I'm not a big sport guy, so I'm gonna be left field here. I don't know if it counts, but it's definitely a game. But I'd love to play more poker, Texas Hold'em, if I could.
Poker.
Because there used to be a thing at LANs, we'd break out the poker set and the chips back in the day, and we quickly realised that, amongst our group of friends, things got real serious, and it would be like, oh yeah, we'll play a quick game of poker. You set aside 3 hours, and it was like 8 hours later, it's 4 a.m. Someone's buying back in because they refuse to concede. Like it was very, very because we played for money. So I'd love to play more poker, but I very rarely get a chance to nowadays. Probably lost all skill I have, which isn't
I'm
much.
terrible at poker, but I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's such a cool
if
game.
that makes sense.
I actually I'd never seen it, but there's a poker based film with Matt Damon and Ed Norton in.
Rounders. One of the greatest
I've never
movies.
seen it, and I randomly just saw a clip, and I was like, "What is this? And how have I never seen this film?"
Give the man his money.
How good is he? How good is Malkovich in that film?
Yeah, Malkovich. What?
The Oreos.
What a man.
Yeah. So very cool. But yeah.
Hanging around. Kids got alligator blood.
Oh, man.
So good.
It's lovely.
Love that film.
Yeah, it's a great little movie. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, hey, we're at the end. Of our own extraordinary journey. And whilst maybe we didn't get the laser show, it was a really fun time. So I appreciate we went slightly over than what we said we would, but that's the community just wanting to ask us loads of questions like which animal we could beat up in a fight.
No, that's so joyful. I wish more press would ask me about what animal I could fight.
and I have to do this just for the record. We do not condone violence against animals in any way, shape, or form, except maybe koalas. Jerks.
They're evil.
Yeah,
they get
absolutely.
Mean. Koalas get mean.
I bet they do. But yeah, Johnny, absolute pleasure to have you on. It's felt very comfortable, which is what we love on the XboxEra podcast. We don't like all this really formal. Right, we're going to ask you a question really seriously, and then we're going to move on to the next question. So it's been very conversational, which is great.
It's been fun. I love a good conversational podcast or interview. It's just joyful. So thanks very much for having me.
No, absolute pleasure. Yep. Absolute pleasure. And maybe we'll have you again at some point for the announcement.
Next game, I'll be here. Exclusive announcement. Next game.
He's promised it now. It's on record.
Mate. As soon as Melbourne's out of lockdown,
let's party.
I'm coming to grab you, and we're going for a coffee in the city.
Let's do it.
Do you know any good places?
No, I only drink Asahi and Coke, no sugar.
What, you don't do coffee?
Nah.
What?
Well, dude, I'm so hyper. I don't need that stuff. I don't need that. I don't need that souping me up.
Yeah. You live in Melbourne.
I know. I'm a heathen.
Oh my god! But then again, you are from Geelong.
That's true.
Geelong is like, what's Geelong? Geelong to Melbourne is
the New Zealand to Australia,
or the Ireland to England. or I
That's
don't
giving
know.
it too much credit.
Okay.
All right. I'm
God.
gonna cut the legs
That's
out
good.
from under all this Australian banter. Honestly, next
No
week
way.
we're gonna get someone from like EastEnders on to talk. You
No.
know, like full Brit. You know, get Guy Ritchie in here and just go
Yeah.
full gangster or something like that. But it's been a pleasure. A couple of quick shout outs. One, we're doing a competition at the moment to win a copy of the Ultimate Edition of Far Cry 6 because Ubisoft very kindly gave us 5 codes to give away. You've got
Oh
chance.
man, not this.
Digital
this.
codes, yeah, digital codes. So, who does discs? Yeah, Ubisoft. I suppose for review copies, they send us discs. They did back in the day after release.
Yes.
But yeah, so we've got that. So yeah, just jump on Twitter. All you have to do is like, retweet. You get your name in the hat, and we'll pick 5 winners on Monday. Other quick call outs is as always, if you want to support, if you love what we do, head over to patreon.com/XboxEra for as little as £1, $1, whatever of your currency of choice is. You can support us in everything we do, which we love you for.
Yep.
And yeah,
Check out my review of the Artful Escape. I did my best to show off Johnny's game as well as I could.
I loved it. It's a great review.
Yeah,
Especially that riff at the start. I had to just let it play.
so
play
good.
You got
all
it.
on its own.
And Johnny, you wouldn't have heard it, but I actually edited our normal podcast intro, which is just some electro synthy Xbox era music, and I actually put that riff as our intro and outro. So as long as you're okay with that, I'll probably change it because I don't want to get in anyone trouble from an IP copyright point of view for the audio version.
No one's gonna give you trouble.
Okay. I've got it on authority.
Play the Artful Escape.
It actually,
So good.
on that subject, it actually made me really cross. We did the Hot Wheels review for the Hot Wheels game, which I really enjoyed. But Mattel, the owners of Hot Wheels, copyright not strike, what's the phrase? Where they say, yeah, this is ours, you can't use that. The visual representation of Hot Wheels cars from their initial CG trailer that I used in the review and disallowed us from monetizing the video. And I disputed it. I was like, fair use. And hey, it's a review of your game, you big knobs.
Yeah.
And they still,
good review.
that was quite positive. I really liked
Yeah.
it. And they were like, no. So I was like, fine, Mattel, you've made an enemy here today. Anyway,
You've made the list, Mattel.
they're on the list. But anyway, right, so thank you very much, community, for hanging out in the chat and watching. I'm going to go back to bed because I've got bike lessons with my son in like 6 hours, and I am not ready for this. But much love. Thank you, everybody.
Yes.
Thank you, Johnny.
Thanks, everyone.
And we'll catch you
Thanks,
later on.
Johnny. Speak to you soon, mate.
Thanks.
Ciao for now.